and welcome to the World News on VOP TV. I am Kayla Abraham. We begin the world news in Washington, where authorities have insisted the United States government does not encourage or enable strikes inside of Russia after the border region of Belgorod came under heavy bombardment on Monday. Though Kyiv has denied involvement, the two-day incursion, which Moscow says it has now defeated, was the largest assault on Russian territory since the war began. The Kremlin released images of damaged and discarded Western military vehicles, including U.S.-made Humvees, after the attack. A U.S. State Department spokesman acknowledged allegations that U.S.-supplied weapons had been used were circulating on social media and elsewhere, but said Washington was skeptical at this time of the veracity of these reports. Two Russian anti-Putin paramilitary groups claimed responsibility for the raid in the southwest border region, saying at one stage they were in control of a piece of Russian territory. Moscow says it's killed more than 70 Ukrainian nationalists. The incursion could force the Kremlin to divert troops from the front lines as Kyiv prepares for a major counter-offensive and deal Moscow a psychological blow. A Russian official in the South Belgorod region bordering Ukraine has said that the territory was targeted by numerous drones overnight following an armed incursion into the territory from Ukraine on Wednesday. Governor Vyacheslav Gladkov said in a post on social media that the night was not entirely calm and there were a large number of drone attacks. Air defense systems handled most of them. He added that the most important thing is that there are no casualties. The statement came a day after Moscow announced that it had deployed jets and artillery to destroy the armed group that penetrated its border from Ukraine, and the Kremlin ordered its military to prevent any repeat attack. Members of the two anti-Kremlin groups, the Freedom of Russia Legion and Russian Volunteer Corps, claimed responsibility while Kyiv denied official Ukrainian involvement. The border region of Belgorod has been targeted by attacks since the beginning of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, but the days-long skirmish was the most significant since Russia began large-scale hostilities in Ukraine last year. Gladkov said the drone barrage overnight had damaged several private homes, offices, and vehicles, but that the full extent of the damage was still being assessed. He added that a gas pipeline was damaged in Gayvoron district and that a small fire was burning. Gladkov said that several settlements that lost power as a result of fighting between the armed incursion group and the Russian security forces would be reconnected by the end of Wednesday. He added as a result of the border assault, 9 people are hospitalized, 3 are in intensive care in a serious condition, and 6 people are already in wards. South Korea has cancelled the third flight of its homegrown space rocket on Wednesday because of the technical problems hours before a launch that was meant to mark a significant step in its burgeoning space program. South Korea is aspiring to be a key player in space technology, competing with its Asian neighbors. Officials said the technology glitches are most likely communication errors between computers that control a helium relief valve. The vehicle itself does not show any problems, so it remains on the launch pad for a rescheduled test. South Korea's Deputy Science Minister Oh Tae-seok told a briefing that a meeting on Thursday would decide when another launch could take place, perhaps as early as Thursday afternoon. In June 2022, the country successfully launched its domestically produced Nuri rocket and placed working and dummy satellites into orbit in its second test. The third test will be the first to load and launch a commercial-grade satellite aboard the Nuri vehicle, standing on the pad at the Nari Space Center in Gyeong on the southwestern tip of South Korea. The country plans to carry out 3 more test launches of the Nuri system by 2027. The planned launch on Wednesday also comes amid an arms race around South and North Korea, which are technically still at war since the 1950 to 1953 Korean War ended in armistice. State media has reported that North Korea is preparing to launch its first military spy satellite. South Korea has no military surveillance satellites, relying on information from its major ally, the US. Security officials said a suicide bomber targeted a security checkpoint in northwestern Pakistan on Wednesday, killing 2 soldiers, a policeman, and a civilian. It was the second attack to hit Pakistan in as many days. The bombing happened in North Waziristan, a district in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province that borders Afghanistan and is a former stronghold of the militant Pakistani Taliban group, also known as Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan. According to Rahmat Khan, a local police official, a number of civilians were also wounded in the attack. No one claimed responsibility for the attack, but suspicion is likely to fall on the Pakistani Taliban. In the last 6 months, the TTP has stepped up its attacks since unilaterally ended a ceasefire with the Pakistani government, brokered by neighboring Afghanistan last year. Also, on Wednesday, the TTP claimed responsibility for an attack the previous day on an oil and gas plant in Hangu, a district in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa on the border with Afghanistan. 4 security troops and 2 private guards were killed in the attack on the facility run by a multinational European company, MOL Pakistan Oil and Gas. Though a separate group, the TTP remains a close ally to the Afghan Taliban, who took over Afghanistan in August 2021, following the withdrawal of US and NATO forces from the country after 2 decades of war. The takeover, some say, has emboldened the TTP in Pakistan. Sudan's 7-day ceasefire is witnessing violations as highlighted in a joint statement issued by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the United States, acting as facilitators in the agreement. Expressing deep concern, the facilitators noted that both sides failed to adhere to their commitment of refraining from seeking military advantage during the 48-hour period after signing the agreement, but before its official commencement. Although the intensity of the fighting in Khartoum appeared to have diminished compared to previous days, the statement emphasized that the violation included reported offensive operations in Khartoum and El Obeid airstrikes and the use of artillery as pointed out by the Joint Monitoring Mechanism. Following the signing of the truce deal, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken delivered a video message vowing to hold violators of the ceasefire accountable through the utilization of sanctions and other available means. Blinken underscored the responsibility of the Sudanese army and the RSF in implementing the ceasefire agreements facilitated by the U.S. and Saudi government. Recent reports indicated agitation and mobilization of RSF troops outside El Obeid, the capital of North Kordofan, on Monday and Tuesday. The Sudanese army stationed in El Obeid played a significant role in preventing RSF reinforcement from Darfur over the past week. However, the presence of RSF elements outside the regional capital hinders the Sudanese army from utilizing the much-needed infantry force against RSF elements in Khartoum. The representatives of Ceasefire Monitoring and Coordination Committee convened in Jeddah to address these violations. The statement conveyed that constructive discussions were held regarding the delivery of humanitarian assistance, and the committee pledged to engage with the respective chains of command to address the allegation of ceasefire violations. Preparations are currently underway to facilitate the movement of vital humanitarian aid to the conflict-affected areas, emphasizing the urgent need to save lives. Former Foreign Minister and senior Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf leader Shah Mahmood Qureshi has been rearrested by Punjab police from outside Rawalpindi's Adiala jail and whisked away to an unknown location minutes after the Islamabad High Court ordered his release on Tuesday, May 23, 2023. According to local media reports, the Islamabad High Court had ordered the release of the PTI vice chairman after he submitted an undertaking in front of Justice Miango Hassan that he would refrain from creating agitation and inciting party workers. He had been arrested in cases related to riots and arsons in Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Prior to being rearrested, Qureshi encouraged the party workers to continue their struggle for true freedom. He also asserted that he was not leaving the party contrary to rumors. Qureshi was one of the top PTI leaders to have been arrested from Islamabad after Imran Khan was taken into custody by the Pakistani Rangers earlier this month. Mongolia's Foreign Minister Batsaseg Batmunk is on a visit to Saudi Arabia between Wednesday and Friday. Batsaseg Batmunk is visiting at the invitation of Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud. The Mongolian Foreign Minister will meet with his counterpart from Saudi Arabia and other officials to exchange views on bilateral relations during the visit. Junta troops have raided a hospital in Myanmar's northwestern Chin state, arresting a doctor and four nurses. The local identified the five women as Dr. Cecilia and nurses Heni Zilavem, Kubshian Lun, San Hinyan Sun, and Van Nyan Mawi, all ethnic Chin. The residents, who declined to be named for security reasons, said they were arrested at midnight and informed they would be questioned. She added that many soldiers came to the hospital at the time of the arrest. Agape Hospital is a privately run medical facility set up by the Presbyterian Church in Myanmar, which said it wanted to provide basic health care to a state with insufficient facilities. The doctor and four nurses all joined Myanmar's civil disobedience movement soon after the military seized power in a February 2021 coup. The five are being held at the local police station in Hakka Township and have been allowed to see their families. Other residents told RFA troops arrested at least 15 people in Hakka Township on Sunday evening when they checked the list of visitors staying overnight. Sunday's raid follows a similar one on April 2 when troops arrested two doctors and a staff member at Agape Hospital. Locals say the three were freed in exchange for the release of junta officials who had been detained by the Chin People's Defense Force in Hakka, suggesting the latest arrest may also be part of a planned prisoner exchange. RFA has not been able to confirm this independently. The Chin People's Defense Force confirmed Sunday's arrest of the five medical workers but did not comment on any possible prisoner swap. RFA called Chin State Junta spokesman and Social Affairs Minister Tan Singh on Wednesday seeking comment on the latest arrest, but the calls weren't answered. Last week, the junta revoked the business licenses of three private hospitals in Myanmar's central Mandalay region. Palas, City, and Kantkau hospitals had already been told to stop accepting patients because they were using staff belonging to the civil disobedience movement. According to Myanmar's parallel National Unity Government, the junta has attacked hospitals and clinics 188 times since the coup. They damaged 59 ambulances and seized 49 more, the NUG's Ministry of Health said, adding that 71 medical workers were killed and 836 arrested in the past 27 months. Senegalese opposition leader Ousmane Sonko, who is facing rape charges, did not appear in court on Tuesday at the resumption of his trial. It will be the second time he would fail to attend the high-stakes proceedings. After lengthy deliberations, the court rejected pleas by Sonko and his co-accused for an adjournment. Police in the capital, Dakar, placed a security cordon around the courtroom, fearing a resurgence of clashes triggered by the case, but there was no immediate incident. Dakar was noticeably quieter than usual and no significant disturbances were reported. Highly popular among young people, Sonko has branded the trial a political plot aimed at scuttling his bid for the 2024 presidency. He has been charged with rape and making death threats against an employee of a beauty salon in Dakar. Sonko claims he went to the salon for a massage for chronic back pain and denies any assault. His trial opened on May 16 but was immediately adjourned until May 23 after he failed to attend at first. On Friday, he demanded guarantees for his safety as a condition for attending the trial. Sonko is believed to be in the southern city of Ziguinchor, several hundred kilometers from Dakar, where he is mayor. Schools have been suspended until Thursday in Ziguinchor. When Sonko was arrested in 2021, several days of protest left at least 12 people dead. 3 other people died during clashes between Sonko's supporters and police ahead of the May 16 proceedings. Sonko, president of Pastef Patriots Party, came in third in the 2019 election against incumbent Macky Sall. Political tensions have also been stoked by Sall's refusal to rule out running for a third term as president, a move his opponents say he would be unconstitutional. In March, Sonko was sentenced to a 6-month suspended prison sentence for defamation and insults against the tourism minister. Rape is punishable by 10 to 20 years in prison. If convicted, Sonko risks being ineligible to run for president in February 2024. Private media and online outlets in the West African state of Guinea on Tuesday launched a 1-day boycott of news in protest at press and internet restrictions by the ruling junta. Escape TV and Kalak TV posted an image of 2 hands pushing apart steel bars against the backdrop of the national colors of red, yellow, and green, with "A Day Without Press" written underneath. Other news outlets shared visual variations on the same theme, while radio stations played a selection of somber music. The protest was announced Monday after the ruling military shut down 2 radio stations owned by the Afrique Vision Group, limited access to popular websites and social media, and threatened to close any media that undermines national unity. Telecommunications Minister Ousmane Diallo has denied any crackdown against Afrique Vision or blocking of the internet. Guinea has been run by the military since 2021, when President Alpha Condé, the country's first freely elected leader, was overthrown. The junta has promised to restore civilian rule by the end of 2024 in the face of international pressure, with the impression the time frame will give it time to carry out institutional reforms. But it has arrested a number of opposition leaders and launched prosecution against others after last year banning all demonstrations. The opposition has called for fresh demonstrations in the capital, Conakry, on Wednesday and Thursday. And that is a wrap on the world news on VOP TV. I'm Kayla Abraham. Thanks for watching.